The last time we talked about vandalism of critical infrastructure in the nation's capital, the fault lines fell on the NSCDC. Well, the FCT Corps has a new commandant, and he says it is the end of the road for these thieves and vandals. We'll hear more from him in our interview segment. Meanwhile, according to the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Nigeria needs an estimated $800 billion annually for the next 10 years to close the gap of infrastructure deficits caused by vandalism. They stated this at a workshop on public infrastructure vandalism in the nation's capital. Their conversations make up our FCT in Focus, and we look at recent recoveries of stolen infrastructure and the agency charged with protecting this critical infrastructure. My guest on the program will also help us understand the sheer scale of this crime and the impact it is having on the nation and its people. He also lets us know what he plans to do to secure these assets as the new commandant of the NSCDC FCT Corps. And as we do every week, we have a rundown of the major stories from Nigeria's presidency. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. Let's begin with the major stories making the rounds this week in the Tinubu presidency on our Abuja Wrap.
President Bola Tinubu has praised the solidarity of the economic community of Central African states on the political impasse in the Republic of Niger. While receiving the special envoy of President Ali Bongo Ondimba and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Gabon, Mr. Herman Imoglot, at the State House in Abuja, the President said the special message of support and solidarity from President Bongo, who doubles as a chairman of ECAS, proved once more that military interference in democratic governance is not acceptable anywhere. A statement from the special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, quotes the President as saying, "I understand the fear of our people on any form of military action. We are working to keep the sanctions in place and we are following them to the letter. We are happy to know that ECAS is with us on this." End of quote. The governor of Niger State, Mohammed Umar Bago, says his administration is taking steps to commence dialogue with the bandits as an option to ensure peaceful coexistence in the state. The governor said this after meeting with President Bola Tinubu in the State House, during which he appealed for collaboration with the federal government to address the security issues in Niger State. Governor Bago, however, stated that if the non-kinetic approach fails, they will then employ the military option.
We are looking at two options. First is non-kinetic. As a government, we have put in machineries to start talking to the bandits, the other elements that are not in tandem with living peacefully. So as a government, we've created a Ministry of Nomadic and Pastoral Affairs to look at the issues of the Fulani headsmen.
The federal government has approved 5 billion naira each for state governors for the procurement of grains and fertilizers as part of efforts to cushion the effect of subsidy removal. This is part of resolutions reached at the National Economic Council meeting held at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, has commended Google for granting the sum of 1.2 billion naira to support the current administration's initiative of providing 1 million digital jobs to Nigerian youths. Senator Shettima gave the commendation when he received some executives of Google at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, has thrown its weight behind President Bola Tinubu's administration, saying it supports the president's economic policies. IPAC chairman, Mr. Yabagi Sani, told journalists after meeting with the vice president that irrespective of political party differences, the council recognizes the efforts of the current administration in addressing the challenges confronting the nation.
We come here to show solidarity with the government, and to also tell Nigerians and the whole world that as political parties, we are together as far as deepening democracy is concerned, as far as ensuring that we have stability, we have progress, we have a government that performs, for all of us, that is why we are here.
The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, is urging the Niger State government to adopt an all-of-government approach in the fight against banditry as the Air Force ramps up kinetic interventions to ensure security in the state. He made the call while receiving a condolence visit from Governor Mohammed Bago of Niger State at the headquarters of the Nigerian Air Force in Abuja after the killing of military personnel by suspected bandits at Kundu via Zungeru in Wushishi local government area of the state, and the death of other officers following the crash of the Air Force evacuation helicopter near Chukuba village in Shiroro local government area of the state.
While we are intensifying our kinetic efforts, it is extremely important that the government embraces the whole of government approach in addressing these challenges so that at the end of the day, they are completely eradicated. And the whole of government approach deals with good governance, providing education, healthcare, economic opportunities, jobs, and the likes.
Welcome back. If you scan the FCT environs, you'll come across infrastructure constantly vandalized. Traffic light fixtures, manhole covers, rail tracks. As we like to say here, there's nothing people won't steal in the name of hunger in the land. And as the population of Abuja continues to rise, so do the frequencies of these crimes. We take a look at the conversations emanating from these issues and the agency charged with securing this infrastructure, the NSCDC. They have their work cut out for them, especially with the new Commandant for the FCT Corps. Please watch this.
Thank you very much.
Stakeholders drawn from the engineering sector and security agencies are here for a workshop to discuss the challenges and dangers of vandalism of public infrastructure by criminals within the Federal Capital Territory and Nigeria as a whole. The increasing rate of vandalism and Nigeria's infrastructure deficit remains a critical issue that continues to undermine the country's economic growth, straining efforts by the government to meet the infrastructure needs of its people. Abuse and vandalism of public infrastructure offsets productivity and sustainable livelihoods. Some of these activities include stealing of communication cables, manholes, cutting of railway tracks, stealing bridge rails, among other crimes. The Nigerian Society of Engineers says an estimated $800 billion annually is needed for the next 10 years to bridge Nigeria's infrastructure gap.
Infrastructural development is pivotal in enhancing economic growth, improving living standards, reducing poverty, and contributing to environmental sustainability. It is also an established fact that the place of any country in this technological age in terms of sustainable economic growth and development is predicated on the state of its infrastructures. Infrastructure is crucial for development. It provides the services that enable society to function and economies to thrive. Nigeria's infrastructure deficit remains a critical bottleneck that continues to undermine the country's economic potential. It is estimated that the country will require about $800 billion annually for 10 years to close this gap. This deficit has contributed to limiting Nigeria's growth potential and competitive abilities globally, despite the inadequacy of infrastructural provision and the enormous challenges it poses to our socio-economic growth and development. It is unthinkable that the few provided infrastructure are vandalized daily by some unscrupulous and unconscionable elements and economic saboteurs. These activities have degenerated beyond the bounds of propriety and good taste. Hence, they pose a great danger to the efforts of the government and the lives of many Nigerians.
The representative of the Executive Secretary of the Federal Capital Development Agency speaks on the dangers and aftermath of vandalism.
Vandalism of overhead underground electrical and telecom cables is also on the rise, with vandals making the streets of the FCT dark, causing security risks. Stripping off the installation of wires in a bid to get the copper material is another new trend. They have become so daring that they operate even in transformers, not minding the consequences. This is a serious economic threat as it causes job losses, security and safety risks, as well as technological deficit and epileptic power supply. In this case, you know, anybody, most people that do go for this, they are not laymen. They are people who know what they are doing. At times, even the staff of the contractor who has installed the facility will come back in the night to vandalize it. The security agencies, with their mandate of protecting critical infrastructure, should also endeavor to scale up their activities of tackling this ugly menace.
During the panel discussion, the security agencies present narrate the challenges they encounter and measures taken to end infrastructure vandalism.
The issue we have in this country is patriotism. There wouldn't have been need for all of this vandalism and what have you if Nigerians ordinarily were patriotic to their country. We always hinge our level of patriotism to what we think we can get from the system. We don't always think along the line of what you can give back to the system. And so that has been a major challenge. That's why you find a lot of whatever it is that we have installed to help us navigate, our systems, to help us navigate our cities, they are vandalized. An average Nigerian will see somebody committing an offense. You see Mebola dumping refuse into a bridge. An average Nigerian will even greet him and pass. He doesn't think it is his responsibility to tell that Mebola that what you are doing, you are creating a problem for me. Because by the time the drainages are blocked, all of us will suffer for it. So if he doesn't know that whatever goes wrong comes around. So we have that major challenge. But then, electronically, there are ways world over where these kind of things are checked. I know that you can use electronic monitoring systems, to check vandalism.
Meanwhile, it is the duty of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, to protect vital infrastructure. Just days ago, the Commandant General's Special Intelligence Squad of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Squad recently intercepted an articulated DAF truck containing large quantities of vandalized rail track iron concealed inside iron scrap, and 4 suspects were also rounded up. Things are looking up in the nation's capital as the FCT core of the NSCDC welcomes a new commandant, Olushola Odumosu.
2001, he has actually done well to ensure that he revamp, rejuvenates, and reposition.
He declares during his maiden speech that it is the end of the road for vandals and thieves of critical infrastructure in the nation's capital, urging the officers in the FCT to be ready for the work ahead in revamping and repositioning the corps to ensure critical infrastructure in the nation's capital are secure.
I've declared war on vandals, on economic saboteurs, on criminals, manhole thieves, the vandals of street lights, of our traffic lights, communication equipment, electrical equipment. These are all critical assets that contribute to the day-to-day existence of Nigerians and those that are living with this geographical space. And NSCDC haven't been at the forefront as the lead agency to fight criminals who are sabotaging this sector. Under my leadership, I will ensure that these criminals, these vandals, they are put in their place. I've mapped out strategy, and that will also involve deployment of more men. They will also increase patrols during the day, during the night. Because one of the things that has given them that much room is the fact that they don't see enough security presence in all of this, around these facilities. So we are going to improve on that. I'm going to ensure that I rejuvenate the critical national asset and infrastructure unit. That's what I'm starting with, because it is serious business.
Vandalism of infrastructure is a crime against the country and a clear sign of an unpatriotic citizen. endangering their lives and the lives of others for financial gains, and lowering the quality of life of Nigerians for personal enrichment. My guest on the program is the new Commandant of the NSCDC, Mr. Olushola Odumusu. He has his work cut out for him. He has a word of advice for vandals in the nation's capital, speaks to the troops on the job ahead for them, and is asking Nigerians to get on board and help them do their job better. Commandant Olushola Odumusu, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you, Kayla. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations are in place. You have just been made the Commandant of the FCT core of the NSCDC, which means that a lot of work is ahead of you. Let's start with some of the things that we heard you say when you were giving your very first speech as Commandant of the NSCDC FCT chapter. You said you had declared war on manhole cover thieves and people who steal and vandalize critical infrastructure in the FCT. And it's interesting that you said that, because we have been dealing with an upsurge in the stealing and vandalism of critical infrastructure in the nation's capital. The lights on the way to Gwarimpa especially, that was particularly disappointing because they were being sawed down. We spoke to the FCT authorities recently about this, and they told us categorically that, look, this is the NSCDC's job. You said that things are going to be different, but let's go back and find out how things got this bad. What was missing in the protection of these critical infrastructure in the FCT that led to these levels of vandalism?
Thank you, Kayla. First and foremost, before I answer your question, let me appreciate my Commandant General, Dr. Hamid Abubakar Haudi, MNIOFR, for the redeployment from National Headquarters as the Director of Public Relations to FCT Command. And I will start by saying that one of the reasons why I think I was deployed, is to tackle a number of challenges which, were identified by him, because of course he told me and mandated me, that the issue of manhole cover thefts, infrastructure, vandalism, like the street lights, the traffic lights and the rest of them.
CCTV cameras.
Yeah, all the social amenities that, are in the FCT. He understood the fact that there has been a lot of challenges and there have been lots of, encroachments, on all of these facilities. So one of the things he told me to ensure is that I rid FCT of manhole thieves and I bring back the dignity, of the Federal Capital Territory. Because like you said, the issue of street lights, for instance, it's so bad because I transverse, that axis of Gwarimpa, and I have seen exactly what you said. Sometimes at night when you travel through that axis, everywhere is, there's total darkness.
So what happened? How did we get there?
Well, I think the issue, rather than talking about how we got here, we should be talking about what is the way forward.
What's the issue? Is it a lack of personnel? Is it the lack of will? What happened that led to where we are? Because as fine as you said, we're trying to move forward to find solutions, but we need to know what got us here in the first place to be able to know what the solutions will be.
Okay, fine. These are issues that, where when I took over, like when I had my first meeting with my management, was one of the issues that was on the front burner. And my HOD, in charge of critical national asset and infrastructure, as I'm talking to you now, is having sleepless nights because I've told him that for him to justify his continuous occupation of that office, he must be able to at least prefer solutions through my own blueprint. It is very pertinent for us to also understand the fact that one of the major problems that we have is that our people believe that security is only the concern of the government agencies. And that is that notion we need to correct. I've taken a cursory look at the situation and we're mapping our solution to that. But beyond that, it is also necessary for us to understand that the citizens, we also have a role to play. When you leave everything for government to handle, it is definitely certain that there will be some lacuna here and there. Because one of the things that help us as security agencies to function optimally is the issue of information and credible intelligence.
Are you not getting enough information from the people?
Yes, but it needs to be improved upon. Because the truth of the matter is that we are in a situation where most of these miscreants and criminals that perpetrate this crime, they are not ghosts. They are people that live within and amongst us. So it is time for us to ensure that we are on the same page with security agencies. The way to discourage, manhole theft, it's when the materials that are used, to provide, covers for most of this manhole, when they are not as, valuable as, how it used to be. There are so many ways technology has advanced, in such a way that, materials can still, be made, in a standardized format, but at the same time will not be as expensive or as valuable as what we have at the moment. Because if the market value is nothing, we'll see naturally the issue of manhole thief will stop. At the moment, I intend to make optimal use of my personnel. And like I said on the day I was taking over, there is going to be difference. In no time, you will notice the difference. And I intend to wage the war. It's not just a make-believe. I intend to take the war to the doorstep of the Vandals. And I want to guarantee anybody who is ready to give us credible information of their confidentiality. In fact, you don't even have to identify yourself. You can actually give us information anonymously. All we need is give us information that are credible.
If you know someone that suddenly has a lot of manhole covers in his car.
You say something. We don't have to wait until the issues that has degenerated into an unbearable situation before we now start, I, in my own capacity as FCT Commandant, I want to be proactive.
Do your men carry weapons?
Of course we do.
So you said on the day you gave your maiden speech that you were going to deploy more officers.
More men. I'm going to in fact, there will be more,
guard this infrastructure.
There will be more visibility.
Are they going to carry weapons with them as they're doing this?
There are different ways of, solving problem. We have our men, who bear firearms. We also have our men who also engage in covert operations. They can even be in your neighborhood, you will not even know or see them. So these are all efforts towards nipping, this problem in the bud.
How can we measure your success? When should we do an audit of the impact that you say you're going to have? We need to hold you to something before you leave us today.
I have the mentorship of my father, the Commandant General of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, who is an achiever, who is a security expert, and failure is not in our DNA. So as a true son of his father, just watch out and see the transformation that is coming to FCT Command and the entire Federal Capital Territory as a whole.
We will hold you to that promise.
I'm ready, I'm willing.
Well, thank you very much, Commandant Odumusu, for being with us on Date and Abuja, and good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you.
Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. Unlocking private sector investments to finance the infrastructure deficit is crucial if Nigeria is to bridge its infrastructure gap. It's a gap that will need 30 years to fill, and destroying what little infrastructure we have right now is making things worse. We cannot continue to accuse the government of not providing basic infrastructure, while at the same time we steal or vandalize what infrastructure is in place. It is counterproductive. The key is to see these vital assets as ours and treat them as such. That's Dateline Abuja this week. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kayla Magwa. See you next time.